How to control your power and emotions, not reacting to them. Once upon a time, a man burdened by his emotions sought the wisdom of a sage named Rama. His anger and frustration were like wild beasts, always lurking and ready to pounce. He often found himself lashing out at others, damaging his relationships and feeling regret afterward. He longed to find peace but did not know where to begin. Hoping for guidance, he came to Rama and asked, "Master, how can I control my emotions? How can I stop them from ruling my life?" Rama, with his calm and knowing smile, motioned for the man to sit. "Let me tell you his story," he said. "The story of the two kings." Long ago, Rama began. There was a powerful king who ruled a vast and prosperous kingdom. He was known for his strength in battle, his wealth, and the loyalty of his subjects. However, despite his external power, the king was a slave to his emotions. His temper was fierce, and his mood could shift like the wind. As the king sat down to eat, he noticed something that disgusted him. A fly had landed in his soup. Outraged, he slammed his fist on the table and demanded another bowl. His face reddened with anger, and everyone in the hall fell silent, fearful of his wrath. The wise king, who had been watching, leaned forward with a gentle smile. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "why do you allow something as insignificant as a fly to disturb your peace?" The visiting king snapped, "How can I not? Even the smallest irritation can ruin my mood." The wise king nodded slowly, his eyes filled with understanding. "But consider this, my friend. Is it the fly that ruins your mood, or your reaction to it? The fly is just a creature doing what it does. You, however, have the power to control how you respond. True strength is not in ruling lands or armies, but in ruling yourself." The visiting king paused, taken aback by the simplicity of the words. He realized in that moment that his true challenge lay not in conquering others, but in conquering himself. He returned to his kingdom and began practicing what he had learned, resisting the urge to react impulsively. Slowly, he transformed. His people began to see a new king, one who ruled not just with power, but with wisdom and patience. Rama stopped for a moment, allowing the man to absorb the story, before continuing. "You see, just like that king, we often mistake external control for true power. But real power comes from within, those with great strength." In a small village, there lived a warrior named Syrian. Syrian was unmatched in battle, his strength and skill feared across the land. But with such power came a problem. Syrian's temper was as sharp as his blade. One moment of anger could cause immense destruction, and he often struggled to keep his emotions in check. He approached Syrian and said, "Your strength is unparalleled, but it is your mind that is your greatest weapon. If you cannot control your anger, you are no better than a wild animal. You must learn to harness your power not just in battle, but within yourself." The elder continued, "There's a story about fire. Fire, when controlled, brings warmth, cooks food and provides light. But fire out of control burns forests, destroys homes and consumes everything in its path. You, Syrian, are that fire. You must decide whether you want to be a source of light or destruction." These words struck Syrian deeply. He realized that despite his immense physical power, he had not yet mastered the most important battle, the one within himself. From that day forward, Syrian trained not only his body but his mind. He practiced meditation, learned the art of stillness, and focused on calming his raging emotions. With time, he became known not just for his physical strength, but for his wisdom and restraint. People no longer feared his anger, but admired his calm presence. The man's realization, "I understand, but controlling emotions is easier said than done. What if the emotions are too powerful? What if I can't stop them from taking over?" Rama replied, "Emotions are like waves in the ocean, but you can learn to surf them. The more you practice, the better you become at navigating the rough waters. The power is not in suppressing your emotions, but in not being swept away by them." Rama then shared one final story, a modern-day example. Michael's journey of mastery. In our world today, there lived a man named Michael. He was an ordinary man with an extraordinary struggle. He was always at the mercy of his emotions. Anger, fear, frustration, they dictated his actions, and because of this, his relationships and personal life suffered. One day, Michael had enough. He realized that his emotions were controlling him, and he made a decision to change. He began studying mindfulness, learning how to observe his emotions without reacting to them. Every morning, he meditated and practiced stillness, preparing himself for the challenges of the day. At first, it was difficult. The emotions would rise within him like a storm, but instead of reacting immediately, he began to pause. He took deep breaths, assessed the situation, and responded thoughtfully. Over time, his practice became second nature. His friends noticed the change in him. He was calmer, more grounded, and no longer prone to angry outbursts. One day, a friend came to him, asking, "How did you do it? How did you learn to stay so calm when everything seems to be falling apart? Michael smiled to stop emotions from rising. But we can control how we respond. Just as the king learned to rule his emotions, Syrian learned to control his power. And Michael mastered his reactions. So can you? Practice mindfulness. Be patient with yourself. And remember that true power lies not in domination, but in self-mastery. The man left Rama's home, not with an immediate solution, but with a new understanding. The power to control his emotions was within him all along. He just had to learn how to use it. Moral of the story: controlling our emotions and power requires mindfulness, patience, and practice. True strength is not in suppressing feelings, but in responding to them thoughtfully. By mastering this, we can transform not only ourselves, but also our relationships and the world around us. As the great sages say, the mind is everything. What you think, you become.